I'm not going to say everything happens for a reason. I don't think that. But you get to choose how these situations impact your life, right? It's not up to us to decide what happens to us, but it is up to us to decide how we proceed.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tybersi.
Hello, and what is up, my friends? This is Jokes and the Gym with Rudy Tybersi. It's your boy Rudy Tybersi coming at you with another episode talking about my brain tumor. So, if you don't want to hear about tumor talk today, well, this is probably not the podcast for you. I accidentally wasn't recording the first few minutes of the podcast, so this intro is being post recorded after finishing the podcast. So I hope it doesn't come across as too weird when I splice the two things together. So I'm just gonna talk primarily about what I learned in my second neurosurgeon consult last Tuesday, because on Monday, after I recorded last week's episode, I got a call from the neurosurgery department to have an appointment on Tuesday, and so that was a little worrisome. It's like, oh, we don't usually get in one day after you contact people for medical things unless it's super duper serious. And so I was a little worried, but also once we got in there, it was going fine. Doctor, she was like, "Don't worry about it. I just wanted to get back on the same page because we're going to be working together." And she made things seem like this was a long haul type thing, and I'm really pleased that she had such a proactive approach. It certainly wasn't as upbeat as the previous doctors, but I appreciated that because it made me feel like she was taking it with the gravity and seriousness that it deserved. Because I'm finding that it's hard to know how and when to exactly make jokes about this stuff because it's a serious matter. And I know that the numbers are good. I'll gonna make it through this. I'm looking forward to a full recovery and having the support of others and all of that jazz. But sometimes people don't love jokes about mortality. And I'm finding that out here and there. And so if that's not your deal, then this might not be your deal either. But one way or another, I thank you for checking in, taking some time. If you're new to the show, my name is Rudy Tybersi. I am a comedian and personal trainer based out of Oregon, and I recently got diagnosed with a glioma in my right frontal lobe. I had a seizure at the Y where I work, and when I came to, I was on a stretcher going to the ER where I found out a lot of stuff. And you can hear more about that on some previous episodes. So I've started to share this more publicly with other people as well, and that has been helpful. To be honest, we, especially when we're going through times like this, we need to know that we're not alone. And my central nervous system has been shot. That's one of the things that this tumor has done, is pushed on that part of my brain that puts my stress on hold. So I've been less able to do that. So I've just kind of been in fight or flight for too long. And with the things that I love, like comedy and also working out, I stress my central nervous system out, even though I love it. I've learned how to turn those switches into a type of joy and energy for good. But at the same time, that nervous system was still being like stressed the whole time. And so sharing it has really brought a ton of support from a lot of people, and I really do appreciate that. Who knew that having a tumor could bring so many people together? Ain't that a bitch? And so, yeah, I'm just going to kind of chat about my second neurosurgeon that I saw last week on Tuesday, because it happened after I recorded last week's episode on Monday. And then after that, in the afternoon, I got a call again from neurosurgery at Riverbend because the first doctor I saw, he is leaving at the end of this month. So today is probably, or last week was probably his last week at Riverbend. And so I am thankful for that because that means I got to kind of request the doctor that I'd be working with. And this doctor came at the recommendation of at least a half a dozen people. And these are people who are both medical professionals and people who've had surgery from this person. Everybody who I've mentioned this doctor's name to has been just super excited about what she's able to do. So I'm really glad that I got to see her. Her name is Dr. Kuhn, and she is a nice lady. And so I'm excited to be working with her and her staff over at Riverbend at the moment. Lots of people also are saying like, oh, get many different consults, get a bunch of different opinions, get third or fourth opinions and that kind of thing. And that's possible. I may get additional opinions from additional neurosurgeons and other hospitals if that is something insurance allows. And so we'll see how that goes. I'm not opposed to it, but I am also feeling comfortable at the moment moving forward with the plans that we are putting in place. The first neurosurgeon 2 weeks ago, he said, oh, yeah, you're going to get through it. It's going to be fine. It's a low-grade glioma. We'll get it out of you, and you'll just be another chapter in your story. And he made it seem pretty just run-of-the-mill and just a little too cavalier with his proclamations. Like he was very comfortable calling it low grade, and she on the other hand was not willing to say that it's a low grade glioma. When I talked with her, I had a bunch of questions. She was super accommodating. She also, another thing I liked and my mom liked, because it was me and my mom in there, is that she brought her PA, physician's assistant, with her, and he was in there asking questions, listening as well, contributing to the conversation, and she was explaining things to him, and that made me feel good about the process as well. I like to be a part of a team, and it felt like they were a part of a team. They're doing this. They're doing the friggin' seriousest stuff you can imagine. They're cutting people's brains open, scooping their brains out. That kind of stuff is a big deal. And to feel like you're working with like a crew of competent medical professionals, it makes a difference. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried when they called me on a Monday to ask me to get in on a Tuesday. That seems pretty rushed. That seems pretty serious. That's not how scheduling works in the States typically. And so I was a little worried, especially leading up to it. And I had to cancel some of my next day at work. It's just one of those things. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure how I'm going to sleep. And I got more answers about some of these feelings and how I deal with different stuff from the doctor. And she asked some really great questions and also was willing to answer anything that we brought up. So I was a little nervous, but that was quickly alleviated when they came into the room and started talking. And they, there was a little brain demo, like a brain model toy looking thing, like a and a Barbie, but just a Barbie sized brain, and a stethoscope, and it looked very set up. The room kind of looked like it was set up for a movie scene. And I took a picture of like the little setup of the stethoscope and the brain model and all this kind of stuff. But I'm glad that it was there because it gave me a clearer picture of everything. She talked about it being on the right frontal lobe and things that does and doesn't necessarily impact. She said, you're right hand. She's like, you're right-handed. I was like, yes. And she's like, okay, that's a good thing. She said there might be some weakness in your left leg, perhaps after removal. And that it's not touching language and not necessarily touching personality things, but there was also some questions she asked about my personality changes or behavior over the years and that kind of stuff. My mom was there, and my mom at one point was the doctor was like, have you noticed any kind of changes and stuff? And my mom was like, well, he can't take criticism. And the doctor was like, that's probably not because of the tumor. So thanks, Mom. Threw me under the bus a little on that one. The doctor was like, no, you might just be a dick. Um, but at the same time, some of the things that it could impact is things like my irritability or my impulse control or ability or inability or challenges with multitasking and shifting from one action to another. And these are all things that I have struggled with for years and years and years. And I've always known things like this about myself. How I don't, there's a lot of comedians out there who love doing like 3-4 shows in a night. And that has never been my MO. Like, it's hard for me to even do 2 in a night sometimes. But sometimes it's also super fun. You're going out, you're having a good time, low key stuff. I love that. But also sometimes when I'm on a show, I want to give my best to that show. If it's a mic, if it's something like that, it might be a little different. But I've always known that it was hard for me to kind of juggle multi. Can you juggle with not multi? Yes, you can. Shout out to my friend Peter at the Y, who juggles with one ball and multiple balls. He rocks. And and so there were some answers and some questions she asked about, my life and my time in Korea. She was like, oh, she was really interested in my time in Korea. So is the PA. And she was like, yeah, I went there a little while ago too, and talked about how like Seoul is just a big concrete jungle. And I was like, yeah, pretty much. And how it's a beautiful place to visit. And I was like, there is like some manicured green space that's quite nice, but it's hard when you're in a big city like that to find those green spaces. And that's like spoken like a true Oregonian, right? How and she was like, it's so different from Eugene. I was like, totally. And that's why I lived there for so long. That's why I lived in Korea for almost a decade, is because I just wanted to be in a place that was different from my home, baby. Eugene. Even though I love it, I think everyone's relationship with their hometown is fraught, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm also wondering, there's this old place, J.H. Baxter, that I grew up nearby down the road that is now closed because it's just like chemical garbage and poison. I'm like wondering if other people in this area have more brain tumors, because that place seeped into our soil and exposed our brain to horrible chemicals. Another one of our family friends, a medical professional nurse, she asked if I've ever had any kind of brain trauma as a younger person. And I did when I was in high school. I mean, I played basketball, I played football. I had 1 or 2 pretty big concussions in basketball in high school. And I remember like waiting around. I remember waiting around, and our trainer was there. Jeannie was out there. Some other people were out there. Coach Bear probably. And they're like, do you know where your mom is? Do you know where Freudis is? I was like, she's probably out getting plastered. And this was me as like a 17-year-old. Just, again, talking shit, I guess. And Jeannie was like, I don't think your mom would be doing that right now. And she wasn't. She showed up, picked me up, all that jazz. So there has been times, and I had 1 or 2 other times where I got some kind of concussion in basketball, because I was like, you know me, I'm a Rudy. I'm all heart, baby. I'm out there trying to take charges, but like a dum-dum, not knowing how to take charges, I just fall on my ass and let my head smack against the ground. And it's like, oh, maybe that gave you a tumor, dipstick. Or maybe it didn't. That's one thing I need to really get out of the habit of doing, is like, well, maybe you have a tumor because of this. Maybe you did this. Maybe because you did. Maybe you should have done that. Maybe if you'd have done that, you wouldn't have got a tumor. But it's like, get out of that stinking mindset, bro, because that's not helping you. That's not going to help you through the process. But I think especially when I'm finding out about this stuff, those questions will pop up, and we'll see how it goes. But ultimately, it's just stupid freaking luck. It's the dumbest of luck. I was saying again to my friend, it's like our nurse friend. I was like, sometimes you get pocket twos. It's like it's something. I got pocket. I'm alive. I'm here. I got something I can do stuff with, and let's just move forward as best we can. Hopefully, once we play this hand, we see what happens, move forward. There's plenty of support and people around who want to help, because I finally started to kind of share about these challenges, because I've had medical challenges for a while. The last year or two, I've been seeing my GP, my general practitioner, regularly, getting to know Doc Kabliska real well, and found out, working on AFib. I have also, and this is a lot of information, I've had some skin conditions over the past year or two that have been really hard to get under control. And so I feel like also this tumor, which is on the right frontal lobe, impacting like central nervous system stuff and autonomic stuff. It can impact a whole bunch of stuff, like my stress relief. And I learned also more about I'll do a seizure episode where I'll talk about the seizure, because I learned a lot about it, what happened when I was out of it. Because my boss, the wellness director at the Y, shout out to Kim, so thankful she was there. She was the one that found me and started to give me, first response treatment and that kind of stuff, and kept me as riled down as possible, which, golly, it sounded like I had the rage virus. It didn't sound good, and I'm sorry if you were there and you had to witness that. And I hope I didn't hurt you or ruin your workout. And that shouldn't be my main concern, but I am a trainer there. I'm a trainer at the Y. And so for a seizure, for an episode to happen there while I'm doing literally the things that I'm helping other people do on my work day, that's fraught. There's a lot that goes into that. So I'm thankful that I haven't lost strength, really, and that was something else that Dr. Kuhn was pleased with. She said something along, she had me like push up on her arms, and I hadn't lost strength, and she was happy with that. She asked to see my head, and she said, "Can you take off your hat?" And I did, and she complimented my hair. I feel like that was a good sign. And so, and not out of vanity, but because, these are parts of a person. Your strength, your hair, your face. They're going to chop. You're going to slice open my friggin' cranium. And she's like, we're going to cut it open bigger in case we have to do more in the future, because we can't cut it open smaller in the future, right? So she was good at giving details as they were relevant for a lot of stuff. So I was really pleased that we were able to get in and talk with her on short notice. And like I said, there so many people had recommended her specifically. I have a client and a friend at the Y who's an occupational therapist at Riverbend, and she specifically was like, talk to Dr. Kuhn. She rocks. She's awesome. She's who I would work with. And several other people, doctors, other PAs, other nurses that I know were like, you should work with Dr. Kuhn if possible. And so I'm very thankful that I've gotten a little more ability to choose, a little more autonomy in that process, because the other doctor was leaving. And I'm happy to have been able to made that switch. So, like I said, they were good. Talking with her and her PA, they both asked questions, both answered questions, both were human, serious, helpful, not too somber, not too dour, not too upbeat, and I feel like that helps. And so just as I've been learning more, I've been sharing more, the outpouring of support has been huge. I thank you all for it. Thank you so much for reaching out, for supporting, helping. I've been out of work a bunch this month. I will be out of work a bunch more in the next few months, and people have helped out. I wrote a nice long post. Check out my Facebook. I have it on my blog, rudytybersi.com, on there as well, and you can see a bit about what I've been going through. And I am the kind of person and comedian who has to talk about what's happening in their life right now. Like, that's just what I do. I can't not do it. I can't lie. And that might have been part tumor. That might be part tumor. The fact that my inhibition button is down, that might be part tumor. And so, all right, what's going to happen? Hopefully I'm able to unlock another quality of life, a better quality of life, by moving through this whole process. It's not something that I'm grateful for per se, but I've been trying for years to figure out why I feel like I'm operating at like 70% capacity, and now I think I might have an answer. So at least getting some of that clarity to work towards that helps me feel some relief. Even if I wish I could just do everything tomorrow. I wish I could just have my cardioversion, which I've scheduled, which is where they shock my heart, because I'm in AFib. I have an irregular heartbeat, where they shock my heart back into a normal rhythm. Hopefully it'll stay there for a while, at least throughout the surgery and some of the recovery and all that. And then once we get some work done on that glioma up there, darn glioma, golly, glioma, doesn't that sound like your babysitter from the 50s? Oh, glioma's coming over to watch the kids. Oh no. Oh no, shit. Sorry about that. As that happens, hopefully we're able to get more answers and move in that right direction, because I want to continue moving forward. I want to continue doing better. There's a lot of people that go through this all the time, and everyone's journey is their own and super unique. And sharing on some support groups and getting connected with people who have gone through similar experiences has been super helpful and supportive and thought-provoking and eye-opening. And so having that kind of community behind you is super helpful. And so even if you just want to reach out and say, I'm rooting for you, man, I'd love to hear from anybody. You can email jokesandthegym@gmail.com. You can find me on the socials. You can send me a text. You can come over to my house if you know me. Don't search for me, you freaky creepies. But I am also writing tons of jokes about this whole process right now, and I want to do a recording. I want to have a birthday party thing at my house, in the backyard, at the gym, on my birthday, on my 42nd birthday, where we will uncover the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, as the great Douglas Adams once said, or twice said, maybe a few times said. So if you're around, if you're in Eugene on that day, it'll be Monday, August 4th, my birthday, 42nd, dog. What a way to ring it in. Heart procedure, brain surgery, summer of fun. And I want to thank you for checking in. I want to thank you for being you. I want to thank you for listening to your body. And it takes a long time to get through, to figure shit out, to find some answers, but it's worth it, you know? It's so crazy that it's a frickin' tumor that I'm dealing with, you know? When I thought of tumors for most of my life, I thought of Kindergarten Cop. Anybody else? Is this just me? I just thought of some kids when Arnold Schwarzenegger's rubbing his head like, I have a headache. The kid's like, maybe it's a tumor. And he goes, it's not a tumor. So that's what I thought for the last 40 years. It's not a tumor. But guess what? Sometimes it is. What the fuck? You probably don't have a tumor. Most people don't. But a ton of people do. And it's worth listening to your body one way or another to try to figure out and take an active role in your health. That is the thing that we should keep doing one way or another. I'm adjusting my workouts. I'm excited to talk more about how I'm adjusting those going into the future. But for now, I think I'll kind of leave it there. I'm excited about what's coming up. I'll get an fMRI, a functional MRI. Dr. Kuhn was like, oh my gosh, we got this dope fMRI person here now. They're a hot shot. So a functional MRI, they'll see a bit more, find out a bit more. Cardioversion, shock in the heart, July 18th. Hopefully that has some help, positive impact. Got to get off blood thinners, got to do all sorts of stuff to kind of continue to move these processes along, because it's some serious business. And I'm hoping for the best. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm stoked that I can still work out. I'm doing little workouts throughout the day, just a couple sets. Oh man, my favorite exercise essentially is just weighted marches, some farmers marches, farmers walks. I did some little figure 8 farmers carries walks in the backyard, my 42-pound dumbbells, kettlebells. And I'll do like one set of an exercise every hour. Do that. You don't want to work out. You don't want to do the whole thing. I had dinner with Seth the other day, and he was like, sometimes I'll just do like a set of curls every hour or something. I'm like, I love that. That's exactly how I'm working out right now. And I'm not focusing on this like heavy go balls to the wall training to failure all the time. That obviously has not worked for me. And so I'm hopeful that learning about this will help me grow in a lot of ways. My friend Sonny, he reached out and he's like, I've been through some big time trauma as well. And because of it, I made some huge adjustments in my life, and it was for the better ultimately. And I'm not going to say everything happens for a reason. I don't think that, but you get to choose how these situations impact your life, right? It's not up to us to decide what happens to us, but it is up to us to decide how we proceed. And so I try to keep that in mind, and it sucks and I'm scared, but I'm going to keep cracking jokes, going to keep doing comedy, going to Oregon Country Fair. Excited about that. Oh my gosh, my dream is to perform in the Ritz. I'm putting it out in the universe because I want it to happen. I want to tell comedy in the Buff to people who are listening. Oh my gosh, I saw Reggie Watts there last year. It was amazing. It's just one of the coolest experiences and places in the world. Oregon Country Fair. I absolutely love it. Feel fortunate that I get to be a part of it. You can find me introducing shows at Spirit Tower first half of the day that weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you again to everybody who has reached out, showed any kind of support, showed some love. I love you. I thank you for having my back. I got yours. And I hope you know that. Feel free to reach out. Would love to hear from you. If you've had a similar story, let me know. Send me an email. Reach out. Follow me wherever. Don't follow me on the street because that's just creepy, but find me online. I don't know. And I hope that you're getting the support that you need. I hope that I am too. Thank you for spending a little bit of your time with me today. And I hope that this wasn't too heavy or too light, and that we keep the party rolling. Free agency starts. NBA free agency starts today. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about that. Anyways, I care about it. I care about you. I care about the future of our health and well-being. And I hope that we all feel some type of empowerment, autonomy in our lives and our health. So do what you can what you do, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thanks, my dogs. Love ya.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tibersi.
And so I try to keep that in mind, and it sucks, and I'm scared, but I'm going to keep cracking jokes, going to keep doing comedy, going to Oregon Country Fair. Excited about that.